It's a terrible thing. Nobody wants to work anymore. I got called up by this recruiter a couple of weeks ago. He was like, hey, I got this great contract opportunity for you. Are you interested in it? I was like, mate, first things first. What are the job requirements? The job requirements were lead data engineering work and the title had architect in it. There was some disconnect between the title and the job responsibilities, but hey, this is the norm now. And then he was like, can you send me an updated CV so we can get you in front of the hiring manager? Mate, hold up. What's the day rate? Well, for this particular role, they're willing to pay up to 400 per day. Inside or outside IR35? Well, it's inside IR35. Now, if you don't know what inside IR35 means, it means that you get to pay about 20% more taxes compared to outside IR35 roles, and you also have to go through an umbrella company, meaning that you don't get paid in your company's bank account, so you cannot really reduce your taxes through various methods, but you will get paid directly into your personal bank account. Pretty much like a regular employee, but without the benefits. To put it in context, nobody, and I mean nobody, would happily accept this rate because it's maybe 40% lower than what I was making outside IR35 in 2017 when I had a lot less experience. And this is why nobody wants to work anymore. Because after this recruiter makes like 20 or 30 calls trying to get people to accept this deal, and then he gets 0 capable people that are willing to do it, then he's gonna go to the employer and say nobody wants to work anymore. People in the UK are just entitled, so maybe if we go ahead and just hire in Vietnam and in South Africa, then maybe we could get some candidates. The reason why I'm saying South Africa and not the usual India is because I received LinkedIn messages from at least 2 companies that are trying to get me to outsource to South Africa. Hi Dan, I'm not really sure if you're aware, but the way UK businesses are employing staff has completely changed. We've been helping our clients to reduce their wage bills by assisting them in recruiting remote professionals based in South Africa. And it's the same for Argentina and Vietnam and the Philippines. So you can find remote teams in cheaper locations, and for some companies they might even be on their time zones. Look at this guy. My team has been outsourced to India. Going forward, my role will be to manage the India team. It's an industry role. India team is said to be available to us during normal business hours. We work remote and so on. And this is great news because I can get super cheap labor and all I have to do is to find a senior guy in the UK or in the US to be a quote-unquote lead. We can underpay him, then we can give him this fake title and we just make him manage and hold the hands of 10 offshore developers. India is actually too expensive nowadays, so let's move on to other locations. All I have to do is to find a mid or senior guy here, right? I can promote him on paper, but I can give him less money because hey, these are the competitive salaries today. Competitive by what measure? It doesn't really matter because they're competitive so we can maintain our margins. Then we can give him some managerial tasks to manage offshore people that realistically, they just want to do as they're told. They want to do the bare minimum and they want to get the money and they want to call it a day. And then the tech lead in the UK is left holding the bag trying to solve any problems that the offshore team couldn't get right. And this is pretty much any company nowadays. They're cutting costs without thinking of the future. And the employees are suffering by either getting laid off or by being overworked for half a year while they wait for their management to hire new people to help them with the workload. And when they try to lowball UK talent and they don't accept, they just say like, I don't understand why people don't want to work anymore. Yes, Mike here has to just continue working for 2 people. And this is why people don't want to work anymore. They don't want to work for salaries that are 30% lower than 2 or 3 years ago and have the responsibility to do other people's work or to manage offshore people or get involved in sales activities without commission or promote your company on their social media for free. And this is another thing nowadays, so it's so widespread because companies are trying to use their employees' social media to get more reach. Now look at this post. The company that I work for is a big proponent of outsourcing to India. They have been doing this for a decade now. One of the primary systems the company relies on has ground to a halt. The code is so convoluted and low quality, even touching it causes issues. In a bit of desperation, I was handed a rewrite requirement. One other dev and myself rewrote it over 4 months. A grand smashing success, got to make large company presentations and the works. New features were shipping with speed and resiliency. By next week, they gave the new code back over to the Indian team to start churning out new features. I have been instructed to keep their quality high this time. And I mean, look, they gave it back to the team that made the mess in the first place, and now they want to rely on one person in the US to hold their hands. This is another reason why people don't want to work anymore, because people realize that they're being taken advantage of. The replies to this post just show how much extra work you have to put in to guide these outsourced teams. And another reason why people can't be bothered to work anymore is that they're supposed to do more work after their colleagues get laid off, while management is looking to fill the position. But after a while, they realize that the position is still pending and the management tries to squeeze those gains every month out of them. I mean, imagine if you manage to postpone hiring for 6 months, okay? You can get one guy to do the job of 2 people for another 6 months, and you're trying to make your employees work more for the same money. You can congratulate yourself that you actually reduce costs, and you might even get a promotion and a bonus. While the poor sucker that carried the whole department on his back for half a year, what does he get? He gets nothing. So people are very happy to make the money, do the bare minimum, and then go about their day. Many people just realize that productivity and getting things done just rewards them with more work and more things that they need to do. So now they don't want to work anymore. Even India realized that they're being outsourced to even cheaper countries. Look at this guy. His entire team was replaced by Vietnam developers. We have been working for this client for almost 1.5 years and everything was going well. 2 months ago, they replaced our director of engineering from India with a Vietnamese director of engineering, and things started to change. He has been replacing each Indian developer and even the US-based developers on the client side. Our entire development team has been replaced. They can barely speak English. Compared to an Indian developer, they cost very much less and they are working almost 12 hours a day. 12 hours a day, guys. And listen, that's because they're more eager. They're actually happy with less money. And the English part? No problem. Hire a lead there that knows English and he can just maintain the relationship with the lead from the Western country. So you need a cheap lead or a project manager that speaks English and that's it. Now this guy's saying unless the work being delivered is up to the mark, sooner or later the contract work will shift back to onshore devs, then it will be offshored again, citing cost-cutting issues. So yeah, in normal times this would be a cycle, because I see this opinion being shared by many people and this is a good way for middle management to get promoted. They cut costs by offshoring to India, let's say, and then they get promoted before the whole thing starts to have issues. And by the time the company realizes that they actually need people onshore to solve the problems that slowly built up, that person is already cutting costs in another company and getting another promotion. While the guy in the previous post, that did that refactoring and then all his work went back to the team that caused the original issues in the first place, what does he get? He gets jaded and then starts looking for another job. This worked like a charm for managers, but I think now people actually realize that they're carrying these parasites and decided not to help anymore. This is another reason why they don't want to quote-unquote work anymore. They don't want to wear 10 hats for the same salary and get stressed for nothing. People like to call it a day at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. See all these TikTok trends that are a very good representation of what people are thinking. Cutting off work at 5 o'clock sharp. And believe me, managers do the same. And also hiring managers do the same. They just hope to find the next sucker to believe in a tech career at their disrupting AI-driven platform that's set to revolutionize the way you think about insurance. I used to think that outsourcing to India was a bad thing because it took a lot more time to get things done. I used to be so jaded because the quality of the work actually suffers because they just wait until you have the exact specifications and then they would do exactly what you told them to do. If you provided bad instructions or if there was some misunderstanding, then the work actually suffered. But they were actually doing the correct things to make money and to be profitable. They just waited to get the instructions because many Indian companies had multiple jobs for them, so they could work on multiple projects. So the more they stalled and they took their time, the more they billed, and it was easier to manage multiple jobs. Years ago, this was new to me. I mean, how could you do this? But then I started to realize that I was the sucker, picking up the tab and trying to solve business problems when neither of the offshore team nor the management cared. Management outsourced the work in the first place, and the onshore developers had to carry the project in spite of poor management decisions. That's why people don't want to work anymore. They want to make money and enjoy other things in life because they see that tech lost its charm. They can't be bothered to just grind a thankless tech job. They will do the bare minimum, yes, because we all need to have an income, but that's it. And what that means is that managing people nowadays is the worst thing. Listen, I love programming. It's creative, it's stimulating, and when you solve a hard problem, you really feel amazing. And I love working on hard machine learning use cases and to create new applications. That's why I keep building. That's why I created Get That Badge, which is my latest project, because I love it. So if you want to support this channel, you can do it by upskilling yourself and becoming a cloud engineer. Check out the practice tests and get cloud certified. But listen, nowadays, Look at this guy. I don't really code anymore, it's just DevOps and cloud BS. He's got a point that nowadays everything is a lot less creative and more structured. I've been at this for about 20 years now and finally no longer have any interest in improving my quote-unquote product like I did when I started. Back when I started, devs had a lot more time and latitude to focus on developing the app/system, implementing novel and practical code, and responding quickly to user requests. But today is just patch, build, release, and repeat. This is where we're at. Look at this response from a staff software engineer, okay? This is a staff software engineer. He doesn't give a damn anymore. I collect my paycheck and I close my laptop at 5. You see, that's why people don't want to work anymore. There's no more creativity in software engineering and it just feels like grunt work that is only rewarded with more grunt work. The next reason why people don't want to work anymore is because jobs don't want to train anymore. Entry-level job postings require X years of experience and there's no such thing as transferable skills anymore. I believe this is correct because at this point companies just want you to be a completely replaceable cog in the machine. You gotta know the exact thing that they need because if there's any issue, they can just easily replace you. We want to offer you the chance to earn $15 for an hour for a senior dev position that requires 10 years of experience on a language that just came out 2 years ago and requires you to be in the office 5 days a week, available on calls on weekend, but we can't pay you overtime. And wait until the African continent wakes up and gets more involved in tech and gets more jobs that are being outsourced. Nowadays, many of my subscribers, both here and on TikTok, they're from African countries like Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria. And all these countries are huge and they all speak English, sometimes even better than many other countries where people usually outsource to. So it's over, with more STEM grads than ever, with so much offshoring to cheaper and cheaper countries, with productivity gains due to the advancement in AI. All tech salaries are just going to, at best, remain stagnant, if not slowly creep down, while the job requirements and the job expectations rise incrementally. Tech has been declining since the end of 2022 and now I think that it actually stopped declining, but it's stagnant and that's how it's going to stay for years, with employers trying to lowball candidates and giving them more responsibilities than ever. And then on the other side, tens of thousands of candidates that are just trying to hold the line and maintain some sort of sense of self-respect, unless they start grinding lead code, because then they just prove to employers that they're desperate. I made this video about how lead code interviews destroyed the tech job market, and it says it perfectly. Check it out, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.